box of them.
There you go.
I bet you he owned 300 shoes. I mean, that's like
he had
thing.
a ton of shoes.
Yeah.
Very good police work, though. They come back for the shoes, box is gone.
Really?
So
well,
they
I'm
never
sure
got
that
the shoes.
and
it was probably in that bag when Shania Jenkins, remember, he had told her, get rid of stuff, you know?
And he didn't give a statement, did he, Dan? He basically what we call like lawyered up.
He lawyered up right away.
Okay.
But let me give you some of the other really dumb things, because that was part of it. Like, he has a rental car, and this is how high they are, I think.
Right.
You have bullet casings in the rental car,
Yes.
and you return the car. You don't look under the seat.
Yeah.
Like, you did nothing. Like, this is simple, right? I don't know how to kill somebody, but I would not leave the shell casing in the car. So, of course, the lady at Enterprise gets the car, starts cleaning the car, and goes, there's a bullet shell casing here. And then quickly, Aaron Hernandez is a person of interest. Well, you call the police, go, coincidentally, Aaron returned a car, and there's a bullet in it, shell casing.
What the shell casing had gum on it, didn't it?
It landed on gum that he had been chewing.
Yeah.
They could prove he bought that night,
right?
And it has his DNA on it.
Yeah. It has his DNA on it. That's what I was going to ask.
Right.
DNA test.
And he told me the whole thing, right? So the whole defense argument is he's not the one who pulled the trigger.
Sure.
First, they had to say he wasn't there. Well,
right.
let me get to the rest of it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, then you get to the video.
Yeah.
So he sets up the surveillance cameras to keep an eye in case Bradley's killing him. He erases some of the videos, but he somehow forgets to erase all of them. So again, as you guys as detectives, you show up and get the videos, and he's literally they pull up 5 minutes after the murder.
Yes.
And he gets out of the thing with a gun.
Yeah.
I mean, you filmed yourself doing this. Like, this crime is so bad.
Right.
And that's why they zero, boom, they're in on him. Again, the industrial site is almost less than a mile. It's very close to where Aaron lived. It's kind of, you had to drive a little farther to make it a mile, but it's even closer if you're just walking it.
Sure.
So it's like you took this guy out of Boston, put him in a place he knows no one, and killed him practically in your backyard. Of course, you're going to be a suspect. The whole crime was so sloppy that they went after it. Now, the thing about what had happened with Kraft, and this is, Kraft was the key witness to me. So they had been saying the whole time, Aaron wasn't there. Aaron was not at the scene. These other two guys did it. This video, they don't know. You can't prove he's there, because if he's there this would be a planned murder, right?
Right.
They had a thing basically, if you're part of a planned murder and someone gets murdered, you're all guilty.
Right.
The defense is going, you're not there, you're not there, you're there. And all of a sudden Kraft goes, oh, he's telling me this, this, and this. And now it's like, how do you know? And so they had to flip, the defense had to flip and say, yeah, he was there, but the other guys did it. And that was crushing for the defense. Now, Aaron's defense on appeal, if they'd ever appealed it, was going to be, look, yeah, he told Kraft that stuff. He's just lying to his boss. He's just saying, look, man, I wasn't there. And that, that's kind of the explanation. But, that's what they were going to argue if they'd ever gotten to a defense.
What was the time frame of what Aaron told Kraft? I mean, were they able to say it was like pretty recently after, or had stuff come out in the news? You understand what I'm saying? Was it something where?
No, it's just days. It was like 2 days later. He's he shows up at Gillette Stadium to work out.
Okay.
Or it broke in a few days later that he was a person of interest.
But he hadn't been arrested. He hadn't been charged. Right. So nothing was in the media in terms of statements.
But the media's following. Everyone's on it. And Aaron goes to Gillette Stadium, and like the Patriots tell everybody, like, do not talk to Aaron Hernandez. If you talk to Aaron Hernandez, you're going to have to testify.
Okay.
Like, do not talk to Aaron Hernandez.
Do not become a witness in this. Yeah.
Well, billionaires don't listen to anything, right? He's just like, I'm going to go down there and see if he's okay. Maybe my guy needs some help. And so he goes down there, and sure enough, he ends up on the witness stand. But it was a key element of that case, because it changed it. And as a witness, as you guys probably could say more about it, but like, this is a fairly unimpeachable guy.
Correct.
I mean, what is he? Everybody knows him. He's the owner of the Patriots. He's got billions of dollars. Whatever he says is going to be taken as the truth.
Sure. Now, unimpeachable basically means if somebody's on the stand, they have some type of criminal history or whatever, they can be impeached.
Okay,
with
not
that.
Yeah.
Right. I think it goes for explaining too, and Dan, you might want to comment on this a little bit too. The one of the issues with having the body so close to where Aaron lived is phone records at that point, unfortunately, don't help, do they? The tower locations, because he lives a mile and a half away. His phone's going to show him in the area. You understand what I'm saying? Did that come up at all in trial?
It may have. I mean, they went through days.
Right. I never liked it when a criminal committed crimes close to their home because it doesn't help with the phone records.
But he tried to say he was clubbing.
Tower testimony is painfully boring.
And listen,
but we like it.
It's more.
You like it. You like it. As a writer, I like.
I'm sorry, it's not so juicy, you know.
It's painful. It's painful writing the warrants or the subpoenas to get those records, and then just sitting there looking through hundreds of pages.
Hundreds. They had a guy on there for days.
I hated it.
Okay,
it's the worst.
And you went to this try it, then you went to this.
But it's a necessary evil. You have to do it. So, and that kind of plays into like how sloppy and how much circumstantial evidence there was in this case. Because at the end of the day, Dan, the prosecution never came up with a motive. There was, to this day, there's still no motive of why Aaron Hernandez killed Odin Lloyd, correct?
No motive, no murder weapon. And, you know, you could certainly make the argument of it was the other guys, right? He has no criminal record at that point. The jury never heard of it. He's the star patriot. Why the hell would you kill your future brother-in-law? You guys are friends. Like, there's so many different things. And then he was scared of the other two. So that's why. But that was also his defense at trial, but that didn't really work because he let him hang out at the house.
Right.
Holding the baby. All kinds of video.
Holding the baby. Yeah. There was actually a point two days later when he ordered Shayana to drive and meet one of them at a rest stop or like a Dunkin' Donuts off of I-95 in Rhode Island to give him money.
Yeah.
And the baby's in the car. Like, if you think that guy's a murderer, you'll send your wife and your baby to...
And again, Aaron had the gun in his hand when he got out of the car.
Yeah, it was Aaron.
There's no doubt.
But yeah, they never had a motive, they never had a thing. But, you know, like, you guys know, circumstantial evidence, it sounds bad in the movie. Like, they make it out, but it's like, if the pavement is dry as I'm walking into a building and I go in for 30 minutes, I come back out and the pavement is wet, but it's still sunny out, I can circumstantially assume it rained.
Correct.
Sure.
That's circumstantial evidence. Like, circumstantial evidence can be tremendously convincing.
You're painting,
not like bad.
You're painting a picture for the jury, and people don't realize this. And Brian, you can agree or disagree with me. To me, and I've been in a ton of trials, and I know you have as well, Beef. The most important thing, voir dire, the jury selection.
Jury selection.
You have to pick the right jury that's going to listen. It's going to listen to instructions. So now this is where it gets fascinating. So he's convicted. Aaron Hernandez is convicted of Odin Lloyd. He's in jail. And now the Boston police charge him with the double homicide that happened roughly a year earlier, okay, that we talked about. Daniel D'Abreu, Safira Furtado, the victims, okay? Now Jose Baez comes in. And I know Dan has a relationship. Now he knows Jose Baez. We know Jose Baez because he's from Orlando. And he...
Well, Casey Anthony case.
And he claimed to fame. He got her off. Did a good job. And it's funny because when that Casey Anthony case was going on, it was absolute zoo. I was on the 19th floor of the courthouse. Yeah. I had an attempted murder case going on the 17th floor. So I had to go through that every day for a couple weeks. But anyway, Jose Baez now represents him in this double homicide. Now, again, we talked about motive. Now in this double homicide, who's the prosecution's star witness? Alexander Bradley. Yeah. Again, when you have a criminal history, you are going to get impeached. There's no doubt about it. You are going to get up there, and a good attorney is going to cross you up. And then if the jury doesn't believe one thing you say, they're probably going to disregard everything you say.
Right.
And so with him as the star witness, Jose Baez did a great job exposing him. There was just no way. So he's acquitted. He's found not guilty of the double homicide. Right, Dan? That's it in a nutshell.
Jose Baez is a great attorney.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you.
He is a great attorney.
Right.
I think we didn't use it in the thing, but I said, like, if you murder somebody or you're accused of murdering someone, call Jose Baez.
Well, let's hope no one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't have to do that.
Yeah,
we get it.
He was tremendous. Alexander Brown was a very challenging witness. This guy he's tough. He's smart. Like I said, he has incredible vocabulary, a very poised, articulate. Just he'd go right back at people. Just incredible. One of the smartest witnesses I've ever seen. And so you have this whole thing. But Baez wins, and the basic argument on that one is so this is like a crime of passion. So it's not plotted. So if you're at the scene, you're not necessarily guilty of murder. Is Alexander Bradley was behind the wheel of the car. Alexander Bradley's the one who's shot people up, all this different stuff.
Right.
Hernandez is basically saying Bradley did it. Bradley's saying Hernandez did it. How do you know? Right. I mean, this is the ultimate of, like, you're not sure. Right. Reasonable doubt. Yeah, absolutely could have been Alexander Bradley. Why wouldn't it be? So that's how Hernandez wins that case. With tremendous defense work, and that's why I think they prosecuted the first murder after. And also they were able to pursue the Boston murder because once Hernandez is arrested or under suspicion for the Odin Lloyd murder, they go and search warrant Tanya Singleton's house.
They get the truck.
And get the car. So, and there's a million other developments.
And
but,
hey,
so he gets off as the second one, though.
Jose thinks he could have got him off on the first one, doesn't he, Dan?
He does. He and I disagree on that. I don't think.
Listen, I've told you this before. You want a confident defense attorney. You want a confident defense attorney. There was so much circumstantial evidence against him in that case that I'm with you. I just don't think there was any way. Now,
I also think there's this on a second trial. Every one of those jurors knew Aaron had been convicted. There's just no way anybody in Boston didn't know about Aaron Hernandez. He got murdered. I mean, the case was so big in Boston. So it's sort of like if you know the guy's already in for life, I would think as a juror, and I think this is what the lawyers will say, they're more likely to be like, I'm not so sure about this.
I agree with you 100%. Sure.
Right, but they tend to just go for conviction. Like, I don't know if he did it or not, but, man, this guy's shady. He might have. Let's put him away. And so and you're like, yeah, I'm not just going to convict him of this.
No, Dan, did they poll the jury afterwards? Was it on the acquittal? Do you know?
You mean did they talk to the media?
No. Did they poll them and say what the if it was like did 4 people think he was guilty and the other ones thought not guilty?
Well, it has to be unanimous.
Unanimous.
In Massachusetts.
Oh, there you go.
It's not one of those.
Okay. All right.
And so that brings me to the next thing. So he gets off that case. Okay. Now, and I think you can do this quickly because this fascinated me because I didn't know about this, and I don't think a lot of people know the law of abatement. Can you explain to the listeners quickly what abatement is, or was, I should say? Okay,
so abatement was like an old concept in Massachusetts law, and I guess some other places. Is basically if you're appealing your case, you are allowed to resume the presumption of innocence, even if you're in prison serving time for the original conviction. So in the eyes of the court, you are innocent, obviously, until proven guilty, and then really until you are all your appeals are exhausted. So legally, if you appeal your case, you are still presumed innocent to the court, and you haven't been able to argue the full case. So it's this kind of ancient idea, even though you'll serve your time. So if there was a priest in Boston who had been convicted of sexual molesting children, he appealed his crime. He ended up getting beaten to death by the other prisoners. And under abatement, he died while his appeal was open. So legally, that appeal had not been adjudicated, and therefore he is innocent legally because he's still presumed innocent. So he dies as an innocent person.
And that's exactly what happened initially in this case. Now, Aaron Hernandez writes a letter to Shania Jenkins, and presumably a suicide note, but in the end of that note, it says, "You're rich now." I'm paraphrasing, but I think that's what it said.
Yeah, you're rich.
So the thought process was, if he killed himself while the case was under appeal, they would throw the case out, and then they would have legal recourses now to go after the Patriots for that money from that new big contract. I mean, essentially, I'm pretty sure that's getting in the mind of Aaron Hernandez. That's what he was thinking. Am I right?
I don't know. It may